evening, everyone. It's Jazz and Frankie with the West Ham Minds channel. I hope everyone's having a good Sunday. We're here well, it's kind of, Frankie, before we get into it, mate, first of all, I assume you didn't go to the game, did you, yesterday?
I didn't, mate. No, I stayed away yesterday.
Yeah, a bit like me this season, really. So, yeah, in this show,
I stayed away.
Yeah.
I was at a trade show and I had a nice weekend with a boy at Chesterton World of Adventures. And to be honest, mate, before the game, I was a little bit gutted I wasn't going because he hasn't seen a big London derby. We done Arsenal last season. It was a bit of a non-event. So I wanted him to see a big game. But Nottingham Forest, I think, would be the next chance we get. So
Good. Yeah. Basically, what we're going to do in this show is try to look at some individual performances and things and what we think of them, really. But before we get into that, mate, if you want to briefly sort of speak about what do you think happened yesterday, mate? Because I've had my say in a couple of shows. So, yeah, take it away. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's not much to say, is there? It's just we go out to try and have a non-event. That's what we try and make happen. We just try and make a boring 0-0 draw. Hope we, get something on the break and hope they don't score. And that's it. We don't play to win football matches, do we? We just play not to lose. And that's why I think we're seeing a lot of boring draws and just really boring football matches. It was just a real non-event, to be perfectly honest with you. And I can understand it a little bit when you're trying to stop the rot to some degree. And when you're in trouble and you want to stop losing football matches, I can sort of, half understand it. But I don't think I think with the result we picked up in Newcastle, which I told everyone we wouldn't get beat up there and we would get something from the game. I actually feel like we could have gone on and won the game. I feel like yesterday the game was there to be won again. I keep thinking we're having these opportunities to win football matches and we just don't want to win them. And that's a little bit frustrating. One thing that I know, mate, draws will get you relegated eventually if you keep drawing football matches. It's not enough. So, I mean, a lot of people are seeing the positives in it. A lot of people think the two results were good draws, if you like. But mate, we need to find a win from somewhere. We're just not winning football matches. And I just feel like yesterday we had an opportunity to win that game if we really wanted to.
Yeah, I think from the shows I done yesterday, it was very much David Moyes out, like Iron's analysis comment. So again, yeah, I thought some fans might have been thinking we're 4 games unbeaten and they can see light at the end of the tunnel, but they were all similar to how I thought. And then someone asked me in the chat, Jazz, are you happy with the point? And then what I tended to say was very negative start, very negative setup, 5 flat back 5, and then 2-3 more CDMs ahead of them. And Tony up front again, not really didn't see anything. And it's the last thing the fans want to see in a London derby when they get there early on a Saturday. They want something to kind of, grab hold of, get excited about, and just sitting back against the Chelsea team that surprisingly, Frankie, on form, they're below us one place in the form. And I think 3-4 players were very, very new to the Chelsea team. They're not played in the Premiership. They were a bit nervous. But we gave them all the possession, stood back, gave them as much time as they needed to get their confidence back and running. It was just same old, mate. It wasn't good. And I said a draw is good if you regularly are winning, But if you're just going to draw and you think that's a great day out and then you got a couple of losses in there, then draws are no good, really, mate. And if we do struggle in the
relegated, mate. Draws take you out. Honestly, draws are not enough. You have to win. If you've got 3 matches and you know you're going to lose 1 in 3, if the other 2 are draws, you're better off losing one of the other 2 and winning 1. You'd be a point better off. You are better off trying to find a win from somewhere. And I do think over the last 2 games, we had opportunities to win both of those football matches. Newcastle were missing their Declan Rice. They were missing. We gave it the bigging about we've got an amazing draw up at Newcastle. They was missing their equivalent of Declan Rice. They was missing their most important player, and we should have taken the game to them and got that win. And again, I felt like when we scored against Chelsea, the momentum was there. I thought the game was there for the taking. I really did. And Moyes' sort of changes just seemed to take the sting out of the game and we'll get onto the player ratings in a minute, but I feel like Antonio, while he was still really poor positionally and didn't really have the best of games. I felt like he bullied them a little bit and was causing them problems. And then taking him off and swapping him for Rings. Why are both of them not stayed on the pitch? I mean, that's what we needed. We needed both of them up there, and we could have got the win. In Moyes' opinion, he'll turn around and say, well, we nearly did win it with the Soucek goal. And on another day, Declan Rice will be on side. It's small margins. We could have won the game. I don't buy into that. I don't think we did enough to win that football match, to be honest.
Yeah, I think when you look at all these so-called sort of big teams, they are all vulnerable, especially at the back. There's no clean sheets in the league hardly this season, and like you said, once we went 1-0 down, we again woke up. Sort of straight away, we saw our wing backs on the halfway line, and we got back in the game. And like you said, if we started like that from the first minute, then you don't know what we would have got really. Steve, hope you're doing well, mate. Frankie, I think you've done a bit of boxing in the past. I think. What did you think of that knockout, mate? Was that a good punch?
Well, it was full extension, and caught him nicely, didn't he, mate? But the problem we've got, mate, and with all of this sort of stuff, people are very quick to share things like that on social media because they think it's clever. They think it shows West Ham, beating up a Chelsea fan or whatever you want. All it does really, mate, is give the police the evidence that they need to get that man in some serious trouble. It ends up affecting his job. It affects his life. Really and truly, filming those sorts of incidents and putting them on social media doesn't really sit right with me, mate. And I know we're all having a laugh at it, but all it's going to do is play into the hands of the police and getting him into trouble. So I hope he doesn't get any long-term issues in life from it, because at the end of the day, he was massively goaded. They were the aggressors. They were really giving it the bigger, mate. And in the end, they kind of, got what anyone... Eventually, you're going to wind someone up who's going to react in that way. You can't condone it, but, that is what it is. So, yeah, it's... I don't know, mate. I just don't like seeing it in light, and and then seeing people put the other fans' workplace on social media. It's just grassing, mate. It's just that don't sit right with me either. So I don't know how I feel about it all, to be honest with you. I'd rather see it all brushed under the carpet now and moved on.
Yep, definitely. Hammer time. Hope you're doing well, Steve. But Steve, I mean, if we lose the next 2 or 1, then like I said, if you're not going to win any games, then the draws don't really do much, mate. And more often than not, some of the teams around us are picking up a few points here and there. I think Everton, Liverpool tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. But when it comes to us celebrating other teams losing, it's pathetic, isn't it, Frank? They are lost. We should be just looking at ourselves and trying to win games, isn't it, mate?
I agree. I'm not celebrating it and I'm not laughing at them, but at one point Leeds were looking like good value, and I felt like Leeds could nick it. Going into the last 10 minutes, I thought, the last thing we need is Leeds winning this, because if Leeds had even just stayed on and got a point, they would have gone above us on goal difference, and that meant that if Everton beat Liverpool by some miracle, but who knows, with how Liverpool are playing at the moment, we could have gone into the bottom 3 tomorrow. At least we can't go into the bottom 3 tomorrow now. So, while we got to worry about ourselves, and I fully agree with that, it was a bit of a result that Man United found the goals in the end, mate.
Yeah, Tony, it is what it is, mate. The pundits, I think Sky, they're all Liverpool mainly, and then you've got, a couple of Spurs ones in there. I remember Glenn Hoddle covering a lot of West Ham games when people like Tony Cottee have been kicked out of Sky. Tony Gale works for one of the other networks around the world. It's just a shame, mate. Soucek, we're going to go into that in a minute. Let me just go for the comments, then we'll start. Yeah, too negative, mate, especially at home. It's just not in the West Ham DNA, mate. That's the issue. Other teams might be happy playing that kind of football, setting up like that. It's just not West Ham, mate, really. And the funny thing is, if we'd given it a go and lost 3-2, we'd be more happy. It's just West Ham. At least we'd given them a good game and we went at them and saw 5 goals, good attractive football. It's just what it is, mate, really. In terms of the game, mate, we're going to go through sort of performances and players and that kind of thing, really. If we start off with Fabianski, mate, what did you think of him? The comments I'm kind of hearing is that a couple of smart saves in there. Didn't really have a chance with the Felix goal, so I think he was kind of okay. I think nothing too bad I saw from him.
No, some okay reaction saves. He makes a meal of every save now, I have to say. There was one to his left-hand side that he really made look like it was a glory save. And actually, I felt like he could have just held on to it, to be honest. So, he had some reaction saves to do. I think he's always been okay as a shot stopper, as someone who can pull off a reaction save at times. Where I struggle with him a little bit is the commanding of his box and also with his distribution. But like you say, no faults yesterday. There was nothing really that he done wrong. So you have to say, a solid average performance, really.
Yeah, I was thinking something around 6.5 for him. I think he wasn't. Yeah, there was no blatant mistake I remember in there. And you're right, some of the saves, they did look fairly easy. They were straight at them, I think, and he made sure he didn't fumble any of them, mate. The next one is our favourite. It's Kera, mate.
Well, Kera actually had one of his... Well, did he have one of his better games, or did Chelsea not really attack his side quite as much? For whatever... It's hard to pinpoint where the blame lies for the three central defenders yesterday. But one thing that was always happening is they was playing through the middle of us constantly at times in the first sort of half hour of that game. The balls through the middle was tearing us apart. Some were on the left-hand side, some were on the right-hand side centrally, and it just wasn't gelling yesterday. We've looked really solid defensively over the last few games. I don't think we looked solid yesterday. I know we only conceded one goal, but it definitely wasn't as gelled as some of the other performances. I would say out of the centre-backs, Kera was probably the best of the bunch yesterday. So I would, put him... I think, a lot of people in the chat are also saying sort of sevens. I'd probably echo that, to be honest. I felt like he was which is unusual because normally we'd be saying Aguerd, but I think Kera was the better of the central defenders yesterday.
Yeah, all I remember is I think he perhaps gave away a free kick. He thumped someone on the back, so got away with that just outside the box. But apart from that, he was no worse or better than anyone else. I think he was okay compared to earlier on, really. Next one is Grandad Oggy. I think with Oggy, I'm finding that probably due to age. Yeah, I'm not sure if the more he keeps playing every week, the more he's going to look a little bit, I don't know, tired or maybe physically not. When you're matching against young people against him.
He looked leggy yesterday, mate. He was getting done for pace and they were getting in behind him constantly. He was struggling yesterday, to be perfect. And not only that, he had the one where he sort of almost scored an own goal. He had quite a few really iffy moments yesterday. And what I didn't see from him was the commanding aerially that you normally see from him. Normally, he sort of comes out and he dominates that sort of aerial position in the middle there. That's probably the strongest part of his game at the moment. And, I didn't really see that from him. So, Ogbonna for me yesterday, mate, poor performance, looked leggy, looks like he's playing too many games for me. Chat saying 6, I would go a little bit lower than that. It's slightly different for me because I weren't at the game yesterday. So I literally an hour and a half ago watched the full game back on the old stick. So I've literally just finished watching the game. So I was sitting there, I'm not invested emotionally in the stadium. I've been able to watch it back on TV literally just now with no emotion because I already know the result. So I'm probably going to be a little bit more critical than some people will be. But yeah, for me, it was a 5 from him yesterday.
Yeah, just for the record, for me, Fabianski, I've given 6.5, Kera 6, Oggy 6. I mean, I didn't see anything too different between those guys, but for me, the way I think about it, mate, is you shouldn't be anywhere near the team if we're an ambitious club, and you shouldn't be anywhere near relying on him, mate. Let me just go back into the chat quickly before we carry on. What's your comments on Agard going off and Paqueta, mate? Which Paqueta, Frankie, looked like just a normal fall. I'm shocked that he came off, mate. I didn't think it was anything really too serious, mate.
I felt we were all round a little bit soft yesterday, mate, to be honest. I think for their goal, Bowen was laying on the floor. Paqueta seemed to be rolling around a lot. We seem to be made of glass at the moment a little bit, mate. I don't know what's going on. But, Yeah, it's a little bit. I think we've got to have a bit more bite, mate. You know, when you sort of half-heart go into challenges, you sort of come off worse. Yesterday, I felt we were so lethargic, so on the back foot, so negative that when you wanted someone to go into a tackle and go in harder than the other man, that we just didn't have that about us. And yeah, like I say, Bowen rolling around and then they go through and score. He needs to get up on his feet and try and get back in position. And, the ball hadn't gone out, the whistle hadn't gone. Don't lay there rolling around, mate. Get up. So, yeah, I don't know. We need to know what's happening with both of those players because they're a big miss for us. Obviously, Aguerd probably slightly more than Paqueta, maybe. But either of them being out is going to be a miss to us. So.
I think so. And what usually happens is when we're playing the way we are and the way we're struggling, dare I say it, some players, get more injured more often than they shouldn't when we're doing well. But that shoulder injury, I would have understood it if it was very awkward. He didn't have time to put his hands out, but he fell like we all should fall with your hands forward. That is just mind-boggling for me. And like you said, maybe players these days are too soft. But if we find out in the scans,
mate. Johnny Lyle used to say, if you get kicked, you wasn't fast enough. That's what he used to say. He used to say, if you get injured, you get kicked. If you get an impact injury, you just wasn't fast enough. And it's as simple as that. I like that mentality. I like that attitude, mate. Peter's just said about Bowen was getting kicked all game yesterday. I felt Bowen was just bullied, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he was bullied. Cucurella and those players, they were just right on him. And, I think we need to get a bit more grit about us, mate. We're very soft around the edges at the moment.
And what I also just remember about Paqueta, mate, is he first of all done the shoulder injury, and then what made him go off, mate, is Chelsea players remember that and they went for that shoulder. The guy just shoulder straight away, he barged him and he was out the game. So it's one of those things I often say, we're not streetwise enough, and I don't think we would ever do something like that. Someone's injured, do another whack in the same place, make sure he goes off, isn't it? Mr. Agard is the next one, mate.
His worst game for me in a while. I think he had a really poor game, to be honest. People won't like this because obviously he's been an absolute Rolls Royce for us so far, and people keep using that word with him, but it's true. He's been fantastic. He got one where the ball was played in. He tried to sort of block it and he let it go through him, which was a really poor mistake. For the goal, Felix has played off his shoulder brilliantly. And crept in. And they was doing that all game. What we saw yesterday is Aguerd, in terms of a physical battle, in terms of a foot race, in terms of someone who's on their side, he's a great player. As soon as you've got a really smart attacker who can play off his back, he gets a bit lost with them, mate. And he was losing the Chelsea strikers all game yesterday. Really don't think it was his best game at all. And I echo some of the people in the chat that it was a 5.
I gave him a 6, I think, if I remember. Yeah, I gave him a 6. So, yeah, certainly if you remember the Felix goal, Felix, he got in between, was it Emerson and Agard, I think, wasn't it, for that goal, I think?
It was Agard. He was Agard's man, mate. He played off Agard's back shoulder cleverly. You can't put Emerson in there. It was Aguerd who lost him.
And then Mr. Kufal, our other wing back. I think Kufal's, I gave him 6.5, mate. I thought he was all right.
Decent game again.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's picked up playing as the wing back. You take his lack of defensive ability away from him a little bit. He's happy to bomb up and down that line all game. He loves it. He's got an engine on him. He's happy to keep, and he's crossing. He put in the cross. Was it the best cross to create our goal? Did he mean it to put it in there to Bowen? I don't know, but he picked Bowen out, kind of. I don't know. Bowen's flicked it on, so he was influential in that. I think Soufal's definitely picked up a little bit of form for us and is playing a bit better in this wing back role for us. So he 6.57. I was happy with his performance yesterday.
Yeah, James, hope you're doing well. I had a feeling that's, Paqueta has done something to his back or shoulder as well in the past, mate. Steve, Skamaka. I had a feeling Skamaka might have made it onto the bench I was hearing a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, there's no sign of him at the moment. And I was talking to Steve earlier in the day, mate, and he reckons, he doesn't reckon Cornet's going to show up this season. I don't know if you've heard anything else. I don't know. So, it's all these injuries that, yeah. I mean, it is good to keep it quiet and not let everyone know what's going on, but it is very, very odd. Next one is Declan Rice, Captain Marvel.
Well, certainly didn't put in a captain's performance. Didn't look like a general out there in a London derby. Didn't look like someone who was really trying to get the team up for it. I felt very lethargic. But nothing terrible. I feel like Declan had a typical this season Declan performance, which is an average game. I don't think he done anything brilliant. I don't think he done anything wrong. He was very defensive. Did have a role just sitting in the middle there, trying to sort of protect the defence. So, for me, 6. I don't think I could push it up to a 7, but a 6 for me. He was okay.
I think I gave him 6.5, Rice. His comments seem to suggest, mate, that he really looked forward for Soucek to come on and enjoyed playing with him yesterday, I think. So I don't know where that leaves Paqueta, but Rice is like, well, yeah, I really know how to play with him. We get the best out of each other. And those were the comments from him. So there you go. Paqueta, we're not going to give him any comments. Didn't really play enough. Apparently as early as the 5th minute when he went down. Next one is the slowly ever improving Emerson.
Yeah, I mean, we called it early doors, didn't we? We've been saying Emerson in a wing-back role is his position. He offers more attacking threat than any of our other wide players, I feel. We know he's limited defensively. While he got the goal, and I think a lot of people will up his rating because of the goal, Chelsea had a lot of success down the right-hand side in the first 20 minutes. Defensively, I don't think he was great. I felt like he was the reason why we was getting caught out a little bit down the right-hand side. But that's how he plays. He is going to be more of an attacking threat than a defensive player. And so he should, because he is one of our most threatening players at the moment. He's making things happen. So the man in front of him isn't. I'm all right with Emerson. I can't give him an 8 because I don't think defensively he was very good, and I felt like they was, getting a lot of success down that side. So it has to be a 7 for me.
Yeah, I kind of gave him a little bit 7.5 because I felt that, he certainly got the goal. And if we remember, the goal that got chalked off was his assist, I think, for Soucek. So certainly game by game. And it's all about consistency. He's played in that same position, I think, 4 games in a row. So that's kind of helping him a bit. Next one, mate, is the controversial opinion splitting Jared Bowen.
Poor game for me yesterday. Got bullied. Was drifting into the middle constantly when I felt like he would have had more success if he was more out wide. Probably instructed by David Moyes, to be honest, because I've never seen him drift that centrally. At times, he was almost on the opposite side of the pitch. So, not his best game. Really ineffective. But he did obviously assist the goal. So, you have to bump him up a little bit because of that. But other than that, for me, rolling around again when they scored their goal, not good enough. It could have been a 4, but because he got the assist, I'm going to bump him up to a 5.
Yeah, I gave him 6. And again, I'm never interested in people just running around, and I really want there to be a purpose to the play. So like you said, that means, assists, crosses, meaningful shots on goal, all this sideway running around backwards. Bowen just needs to just very up and down, isn't he, Frankie, game to game? I don't know what to... And we've seen very high standards from him, so he's not really sort of matched those this season, and underperforming, I think, or unless that form at the beginning, mate, which I think you were thinking that, is he really that good? Did he just peaked too quick and then he's back to, I don't know, mate, but we'll see what happens. There's a good few players that are struggling with their form, so I gave him 6. Yeah, good comment, Peter. Yeah, we were hearing that Rice was a little bit under the weather, so yeah, give him a bit of a sort of, comfort in the ratings we're giving him, really. Steve's really happy with Emerson, giving him an 8. We got a 7 from Lawrence, 7.5. Moyes. We're not going to give Moyes a rating, mate. James, solid 7. Fair enough, mate. Next one is striker Marvel, Mickey Antonio, mate. Mickey.
Poor game, other than bullying and throwing himself around, which is better than what he has been doing. He's been offering very little, but at least he was trying to put himself about a bit yesterday. But it's just the general striker stuff that he needs to learn. Well, not learn to do, because it's a bit late for that now. But positionally, I think he was poor. Wasn't always half a yard behind the ball. Just constantly not quite there. A couple of times the ball come in from the box, didn't quite get to the ball. Even for the goal that we scored when Bowen flicks it on, I want to see our striker anticipating that and being ready to try and get himself on it. But he sort of stuttered and wasn't anticipating Bowen's flick on, and then it goes past him. Luckily, Emerson was coming in at the back post, and Emerson had anticipated it and got the goal. But for your striker, I want to see Antonio making that flick on from Bowen. Just a bit of a calamity, just typical again. People are saying Bambi again, just always looking clumsy. Mate, I was seeing some clips back from sort of the seasons at Upton Park, how much leaner he looked. It was quite a shock. See, when you haven't seen back then and for so long, and then you see a player and it was like, he's like a different man. This physicality, I don't know where and this build that he's wanted to sort of have later on in his career, I actually think that's been part of his downfall. I think for one season, he made it work and he become a real nuisance and a handful with that extra weight and that extra stockiness to him. But I think it's actually caught up with him. And now I think he really struggles with carrying that much weight around the football pitch and that much muscle, mate. So not a good game for him. 4, maybe a 5, just because he put himself about a bit. I would have liked to have seen him on the pitch with Ings, because I do feel like he didn't have anyone up close enough to him. I felt like he was very isolated. Ben Rama, obviously, we're going to talk about him in a second, but didn't really support him in any way. And I don't think Bowen had the best of games. So that does impact Antonio. When your 2 other attacking players aren't at the races, then Antonio will always look worse. So, probably a 4 or 5 for me.
Yeah, lots of 4s for Antonio, even 1 3.5. I just gave him 6, mate, just for being on the pitch, to be fair. I'm just like, I can't stand him any longer. He's not going to score a goal. He's not going to do anything. And I'm not interested in the odd flick here and there and running down, into no man's land and things like that, really. So, but for some reason, Moyes loves him. And I mean, which I'm calling for, mate. I don't know how fit Danny Ings is here, but you got to play 2 up front with Ings, haven't we? We've got to consider that at some point, haven't we?
At the moment, I feel like Ings could play where Ben Rama's been playing, because he has been a left inside forward at times in his career. Probably hasn't got enough pace to play there, but I just don't think Moyes will have the guts and the balls to play 2 up front. And if not, we've got to find another way of getting a better attacker on the pitch, mate, because at the moment our players are so unthreatening and we're really struggling to score goals from our front men. So we've got to try something different. I don't think Moisey will ever go 2 up front. I don't think he's got the balls for it, especially when he knows his job's on the line. But can we accommodate Ings as a sort of left inside forward? Maybe. So we're going to talk about it in a second, but with Ben Rama so out of form at the moment and struggling, then maybe that's how we accommodate Ings and Antonio on the pitch at the same time.
Definitely, mate. I mean, I gave, let's see, where's my rating? So, Antonio gave him 6. Ben Rama, I think I gave him the lowest. I've given him 4. I think, like I said, I do want him to carry on playing every game, because we've got to make a call on this one. Either he goes we can't carry on like the way it is, and my sixth sense and gut feeling was that he's not up for it in games like this. Europa,
In any game, he's
I mean,
pony, mate.
conference, he'll get a couple of goals in the conference games. Watch, he'll get a couple in there, maybe in the cups. But when you're playing your Chelsea, Spurs, your Liverpools, United, Cities, I've never seen him do anything in any of those meaningful games. I mean, my son, 30 minutes. I said, Ben Rama ain't done anything. He goes, is he really playing? I said, yeah, he's on the pitch. So nothing from there really, mate. And yeah, got to make a call him end of the season. So unless something dramatic, yeah.
We can all moan about what Moyes has been like with him. Games like yesterday are exactly why Moyes has been the way he's been with him. I don't agree with the way Moyes has handled it. I don't agree with the way Moyes has dealt with it. But what you can't say is Moyes hasn't given Benrahma his chance now. Moyes has played him game in, game out, in the position where he started to show a bit of promise. I think actually he's sort of, when we were saying he was our brightest spark, he was the best player on the pitch. I think it's just because everyone else was so bad. I think everyone else was so poor that he looked better than actually what he was, but at least he was offering something, whereas everyone else was just so bad. So, and Steve, I'm not saying Bowen hasn't been terrible as well. Bowen has been awful. Both wide men have not been good enough this season, and I can knock Antonio, and I do knock Antonio. Actually, all three of those front attacking players just haven't been up to scratch, mate. And that's why, none of them are scoring goals. It's why we're struggling to score goals. And I think it's time for a bit of a switch up. And, even if we haven't got Scamacca, I feel like we've got to still find something different to what we've got now, because, it's just not good enough by all of them, really.
I think the reason for the Bowen Benrahma questions is I think Bowen definitely has more possession and is more visible on the pitch. I think he does have the ball a lot. What he does with it is up and down. But I think that's one of the reasons where Benrahma doesn't really receive the ball a lot, whether that's him or not.
The point is, mate, Bowen still got an assist yesterday. Even if Bowen has a bad game, he still makes something happen. Me and you have always said, Bowen isn't a clinical finisher. He has to have 5 chances to score a goal.
Yeah.
But he will get a goal. Because he's so, like you said, he's so active, so influential on the pitch. He sees a lot of the ball. Something happens from him. Again, yesterday, he still gets the assist. Benrahma's goals and assists are just not good enough. His final decision-making is so poor. He gets in good positions, Benrahma. He's lively. He tries to make something happen, and then he really struggles. He always makes the wrong decision in the final third. Every now and then he'll try and hit a ball from long range and he'll get something out of it. But other than that, mate, you've only got to look at his goals and assist record to see what you need to see about Benrahma. And that is, he just doesn't offer enough to the team in terms of what he's there to do, which is goals and assists, mate.
Yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, I think... let's see what happens. I think Benrahma, I don't know if he's going to bring Fornals back in now. I don't know. I know we're quite short in the squad, and Fornals has not had a look in at the moment. So I don't know for Spurs how it's going to look. Are you going to be at the Spurs game or not? Or are you going?
I'm not, mate. I'm probably going to... It's actually my birthday. So... Dad's not up to away games anymore, so I'll probably go and watch it with him. But I have got tickets for United in the Cup, so I'll be going up to Manchester for that one.
Okay, next one we're going to look at is Soucek.
This is what annoys me, mate, because, a lot of people are defending Benrahma in the chat. A lot of people defend a lot of players. A lot of people are happy to criticise certain players, only be positive about other players. Soucek's the one that just everybody outright refuses to give a little bit of praise where praise is due. I'm not saying Soucek was fantastic yesterday. I'm not saying Soucek was, back to his box-to-box best and threat. But he nearly got the goal, which... if he'd have got that goal, I think he would have then been up there for potential man of the match. I think he had a really solid game. I think he had a good game. If you look at sort of what his Opta stats suggest, it was his best game that he'd had for us in a long time. Well, in fact, all season in terms of what his Opta stats say. So I do think it was one of his better games for us. Do I think he was great? No. Do I think he was good? No, but I felt like it was a better Soucek performance. Um, there was one moment where he had two players he could pass to, and he managed to miss both of them, which was really frustrating. And we know his passing isn't the best, but to misplace that pass was, as a Premier League football player, was really, really bad. So a 6 for Soucek for me, mate. Almost a 7 if he would have got the goal. Yeah, I guess from his save as well at the other end, maybe I should be giving him a 7 because he saved a goal. But yeah, he done all right yesterday, mate.
Yeah, I gave him 7, and yeah, it was a half decent performance from him. And do you think it should have been a penalty at the end? A lot of people are going one way or the other with that 50-50, I think.
No, I think it's a definite penalty, mate. I think without any question, it's a penalty. We'd be livid if it hadn't gone for us, and we'd be saying, but what goes around comes around. We had our moment at their ground last season, or last year, sorry, and then it's come back, and that's, do you know what, mate? That's what's just frustrating me. That's how football should be. Let the goal stand, and what goes around comes around. It levels itself out eventually. I know we all used to moan that we used to come off worse, and we used to look at these stats of if decisions had been correct, West Ham would have been so many positions higher and had so many more points and all of this sort of stuff. But I can tell you now, I would much rather no VAR, bring the emotion back to football, and just have the balance of what goes, and it all sort of evens itself out in the end. I would much, much rather have that than what we've got at the moment, because we've got VAR. It still can't make the right decisions. It still struggles with decisions. Just bring back emotion to football, please. Just scrap it, get rid of it, celebrate a goal when it goes in and the linesman don't put his flag up, and be done with it, mate.
Yeah, I think so. The next one is Downs, who came on after 67 minutes to replace Ben Rama. Flynn Downs. I gave him, I don't know, 5 or 6, something like that. I mean, what can you do in... Well, 23 minutes is a decent time on the pitch, but I don't know, mate. It's all right, isn't he? I don't know.
Yeah, again, so we can all say he was good. He wasn't. There was no good players out on that pitch yesterday, mate. There was a lot of very average players in a very average performance. He comes on, he does all right, but what else could he do, really, mate? He didn't have much time to influence the game. To come in, what I was impressed with, to come into a game like that and to be able to perform the way he did, I thought was really good. He's always ready. What I like about him, mate, he's always ready to come on and do a job. He is keen. He's still ready to try and, play for West Ham whenever his opportunity comes up. And I love that. I feel like there are some other players who don't really care whether they get on the pitch or not, mate. But I feel like every time we call upon him, he's ready to come on and do a job. So, I've only got good things to say about him. I think just average because of the way the game was, so just a 6. But I'd like to see more of him, mate. I really would.
I think so. Man of the match. Danny Ings, again, he came on, replaced Antonio, mate. Again, I just didn't really get involved in anything, did he, really?
He didn't, but again, with the wide men are not creating anything. We're really struggling to create things on the pitch. Antonio is bullying players. Just let Ings play off Antonio. Just start getting the ball up the pitch. Just in that last 10 minutes, just get the ball up, get balls into the box, get us further up the football pitch, and something might happen. It did, and unfortunately it was cancelled from VAR. And like I said, Moyes would be sitting here right now saying another day that could have worked out very different. But I just feel like there was an opportunity to chuck both of them on and try and win the game. But at the end of the day, Moyes will be sitting here now saying we didn't lose and we almost won it. So in his mind, he did everything right. I would like to see us be a bit more adventurous, mate, and try and win an opportunity when it's there. So I thought at 1-1, Chelsea weren't threatening too much. They weren't really worrying me. The game was quite flat. Stick them both on up top and try and win the football match, mate.
Yeah, I think to summarise shows like these, mate, I know it's getting all passionate in the chat, but it's a shit team at the moment. It's shit performances, so I don't see any point in... I mean,
Yeah, the
Soucek,
stadium's dead.
Downs. But even like getting passionate about what Soucek is 4-5, Bowen Rama's 6, Bowen. They're all shit, mate. They're all shit. But all we're saying is that, yeah, some of them have got a few points in the bags from the past, and in terms of possession and that kind of thing, and trying, and then you've got all these mixes. But the total, I think the conclusion is that it's a pretty average team at the moment, average performances, and there isn't a lot of difference between the players. There isn't anyone who stands head and shoulders above the other one. There is a few players that could do a lot, but they're not fit. Manager just plays one way all the time. So it is what it is. It is difficult to run a channel when the past 13, 14 months it's been really, really bad. Really bad, really average. And I can see that a lot of the channels are like struggling for content as well, mate. There's nothing exciting to talk about. Half of it's just made up garbage. There's one particular channel that was asking people to give them ideas. They don't know what to talk about anymore. So I'm like, I haven't been on a lot in 2 weeks, mate, and my mojo's gone, as you know. Your mojo's gone, and
it's such a shame, mate. Dad phoned me as soon as he left the ground, and he just said the whole thing. He said it was just pointless going. You get there, you try and get up for it. He said for some reason now at the pubs they're doing this. You've got to have a ticket to go into the pubs now, which actually made the pubs a little bit clearer, and you could actually get a drink and whatnot. Why that's come in, I don't know. So not. If you haven't got it might have been just because it was Chelsea and they're expecting some trouble, don't know. But yeah, you had to show tickets before you could go into the pubs, which was really unusual. You've then got the queue to get into the football stadium. We're the only stadium that seems to do that, and the queuing is it's getting worse and worse game by game. It's awful. And then you get into the stadium and they build walls between the away fans. They really struggle to put people together to make who want to make a bit of atmosphere and sing. They've absolutely killed any enjoyment or fun out of going to watch West Ham. It is dull, it's flat. That Everton game I went to was the most boring, the worst atmosphere I've ever known from a West Ham game. Just really, really poor. And just everything that was West Ham, which was, even if we're not good on the football pitch, we make noise, we get behind the team. And what West Ham are going to realise is when you get into relegation battles or you want to try and win things, having that crowd behind you at those important moments enough makes a difference. We used to have that 12th man. We used to roar West. For example, yesterday, when we got back to 1-1, if that was Upton Park, that crowd would have got so behind them and would have roared that team on to get up the pitch and try and get in front and score another goal. Instead, it's just flat, it's dead. The whole thing and experience of going to West Ham, and when you come out, you've got to go through the stop-go signs. The whole thing is just a chore. It is an effort to go and watch West Ham, and it never used to feel like that. I used to love every single second of going, and it's just finished. And it's such a shame, mate. It really is, because I love West Ham more than anything, mate, and it's been my life for such a long time. But I can't remember the last time I went and done something else on a weekend rather than going to West Ham Chelsea. I would have always been at West Ham Chelsea, mate. And this weekend I chose to do something with the family rather than going to West Ham. It just, I had other options and that's it. And I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, when we were discussing match reviews and shows like these, mate, what are we deciding one player's better than the other because he blocked 2 tackles, the other one blocked 1 tackle, the other one ran 10 yards, the other one ran 5 yards. We're not talking about goals, assists, nothing meaningful.
Where's the heroes? As a youngster growing up, right, I had heroes. My boy, he loves Bowen because Bowen scored goals last year. And that's what kids want to see, don't they? They want to see players who score goals, right? But, we went to a trade show and there was collectibles and stuff and there was loads of West Ham stuff there. He's bought a Payet figure and when you're showing the latest players, he ain't interested in Antonio. He ain't interested in, those other players. We know Declan Rice leaving, so why would you want to buy anything Declan Rice? There's just no heroes to get behind anymore. There's no magicians. There's no match winners. There's no anything there anymore. We've had bad teams in the past, mate, but we've always had something about us. I just don't think there's anything about West Ham no more. What identity have we got? What have we got that you look at a West Ham and go, that's what West Ham's all about? It's just don't.
Yeah, you're right, mate. I mean, identity used to be, Upton Park, the crowd close to the pitch, and certainly the football. But yeah, we're not playing football like that anymore, are we, mate? That's kind of been taken away from us. And I think, get a new manager in, and that'll make me a lot happier. And overnight, I think you'll see an improvement in everything. The players, the way we play. So that's a plus point. But it's just dragging on. It's a slow death, isn't it? I think surely he's got to go in the summer then if they're going to keep clicking with this and happy with fifth from bottom, fourth from bottom, whatever. People are talking about the West Brom manager. I read a few things about the Feyenoord manager, who's the most attacking coach in the world. They got 50 shots on goal, Frankie, last game, Feyenoord. Broke a record or something. Yeah. So that'll get your little one going. 50 shots, mate. I mean...
It's all about, isn't it, mate? That is what it's all about, And we used to have youth players we were excited about, and we used to have. There was always something at West Ham that was exciting you, and even through the bad times, mate. I remember when we went down to the Championship, and we still had Nigel Rio-Coker, and we still had players like that who were coming through and coming up, and we'd buy in some players. Mate, I even used to get excited by like David Connolly and players like that. We always had a little bit of character, and we always had a little bit of something about us, and it's just, I don't know, I'm disillusioned with it, mate, I have to say. But I'll still keep going. Like I say, I'm going to go up to Old Trafford. I just feel like we're going to have our day again at Old Trafford. I feel like it's time. I think we're there. Everyone's saying it's the way football's gone, mate. I'm wearing the old Premier League badge, which has got against modern football on it. Modern day football really isn't for me. But it all stems from everything, mate. We've said it before. It's not just the manager and the team. It's having the club run correctly from top to bottom. It's having good training facilities where players want to play. It's having a focus on the academy and promoting, bringing through good young players that we can get excited about. It's good investment in the team. It's everything. And, at the very least, what we used to have was a stadium that used to have atmosphere, and it had character and it had passion. We've seen that London Stadium, with that many fans in it, can be rocking. We saw it against Seville. We saw it against Tottenham on a Friday night when we had the Friday night game against them over there. We've seen Chelsea be rocking at times. But the way they've built this wall, the way they've separated anyone who wants to create a bit of noise or, have a bit of atmosphere, the way they're telling everyone to sit down and won't let people stand up, just the whole thing, the whole experience from start to finish has taken that, any enthusiasm you can get, by the time you get to your seat, is zapped out of you. And then when you get in there, it's so dross, and it just sucks the life out of you, mate. It's a shame. I think it is going to take a change of ownership and a change of certainly playing better football. We know if we're winning football matches, it can be okay over there. So we've got to get back to winning football matches again, not drawing and losing. That's not good enough. We've got to start winning again. Are we going to see that under David Moyes, mate? I'm dubious. I'm not so sure.
No, I think the board must know. I don't know if you've seen any surveys lately. What's the feeling amongst the fans? Because I know that changed, didn't it, from one end to the other?
I think everyone's just accepted that Moyes will be here till the end of the season. I don't think it needs polls anymore. I don't think it needs opinion. I don't think anyone is even bothering about shouting about it. I think we've all come to the realisation that Moyes will be here until the end of the season, and the only thing that we can do is get behind the football team. That's it. That's all we can do now. So, we had these two slightly improved performances, and everyone's tried to see them as much positive from it as possible. And I respect anybody who's done that. I'm not seeing it quite as positive as some of the other people are. I still think Newcastle are missing their best player. I still think we could have won the game yesterday against Chelsea. So, I'm not quite as seeing it as we've turned a corner just yet. We'll look at what's happening. Mate, Leicester are going and battering teams at the moment. They're giving it to teams. Wolves are battering teams. There are teams out there that are around us that are properly winning football matches again. We need to start winning football matches again. Injuries are tough. it might look very different if we still had Skamaka to call upon, and now we might have a couple more injuries in there. Who knows? Time will tell to see how long they're out for. But the window's shut, mate. We've got what we've got. We've got what manager we've got. And that's how we're going to be until the very last kick of the ball of this season. So all we can do is try and get behind them the best we can, is to try and get excited about a Conference League run that when you look at the teams that are left in it, mate, there ain't a lot there. So, we've got an half a chance of trying to have a good run in that. We're still in the FA Cup. We're going up to Old Trafford. We'll get behind the boys up there and try and roar them on. And that's it. There's no point in us having any opinion on the manager whatsoever no more, because it's not going to change.
Yeah, answering Lawrence's question, mate, for me, simply, it's just you can only control things like changing the manager. For me, I don't think the ground's going to change a lot going forward. So I think a new manager comes in with a obviously attacking philosophy. I think that'll help everyone, really. But it's just a shame that this season's more or less a write-off, really. But funny things have happened. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still in the conference. And conference, I think, top of my head, we were easily second joint to win it. I think second or third. So you never know.
You've
We
got
might.
Villarreal that's still in there, and you've got Fiorentina and Lazio. Other than that, you've got some horrible places that you wouldn't want to go. There's some Turkish teams in there that would be a tough ask. But in terms of like ability and squad level and everything else, other than Lazio, Fiorentina, and Villarreal, we should be well up there within a chance of having an opportunity to win it. So, draw is a couple of weeks away, so I'm looking forward to that. And mate, we'll see. But I really hope it don't peter out into nothing. If we go and get a really tough draw in the next round of the Europa League, Europa Conference League, and we get knocked out of that, and if we get knocked out by Manchester United at Old Trafford, mate, the season then is just purely worrying about survival. And while that might be a positive in that we can just focus on that and we haven't got any other distractions, I feel like the cup things of what's given us a little bit of a better vibe around the football club at the moment and the team, because we have picked up some wins in the FA Cup. It's kind of helped their confidence a little bit, mate. So, momentum and everything else, keep winning football match or trying to win football matches is what we need to be doing. Let's just hope we can get a nice, easy draw in the Conference League and just get through into the quarterfinals, mate, it will start to get exciting then, won't it? So
I think so. Do you know when the draw is?
I think it's about the 23rd of February, something like that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But it looks like in the chat, at the beginning of the chat, it's just arguing about Benrahma, Bowen, and Antonio and Soucek. And listen, they're all pretty shit anyway. I wouldn't waste too much time worrying about if they're getting 5, 6s, or 7s. It's just what it is. So that's kind of my feeling, really. And season's a write-off. Moisey hopefully will go. We have no idea who's going to be the new manager. I think my dad was saying that Noble's gone on a scouting mission, mate, somewhere. I forgot where now. Morocco. He's watching a Morocco player. And whether he's going to have a strong say in who we get scouting and who's the next manager going to be, I'm not sure what's going on there.
This week, I'm not. We're becoming the podcast. We're becoming Podcast FC, mate. Noble's on a podcast. Antonio's on a podcast. David Moyes is on a podcast. I'm not even sure what their interest in West Ham is at the moment, mate, because there's nothing interesting about West Ham. So why they're picking all of our mob to go on podcasts and have a chat about things, I'll never know. But there you go. I would much rather see us focus on getting back to winning football matches than people around our club going on to different podcasts and so on, mate. I can't quite get my head around why we think that's a good thing to be doing right now, really. But there you go. Okay,
so he was at the Monaco PSG game, and I don't know if there's a Morocco player in there somewhere, not too sure really. And that's kind of going to be it from us. So thank you everyone in the chat. I'd love to do one of these shows when we actually win a game, and then it's you can talk about a bit more goals and a bit more intent, I think. But kind of that's it for us, Frankie. And let's see what the next 7 days and next week brings. Obviously, it is going to be quiet for West Ham news. The window has shut. We bought Danny Ings in, and I think we should have bought 2 more in. Rumours, I don't know who we're going to... It's still up in the air, mate. I don't know if the club's going to be sold. I don't know if Rice Man United, those are the latest rumours. How did they keep that quiet? We're £100 million bid and we only know about it now, like a few days ago. Apparently Man United bid 100 million. It's a bit odd, and it came from out of the blue. And then the rumours now are that people advising Rice to Arsenal, well, they might not always be up there thereabouts next couple of years, whereas Man United, I think, was one of the richest guys in the world. He's trying to take over Man United at some point.
Yeah.
So
make them very interesting, mate, if they go and manage that.
Well, if they do want to make a Rice, they're one of their sort of fan-pleasing signings. We hopefully get a bit more money in from then. I think like one or two people saying if we sell him to Chelsea, we can get 1 or 2 players in exchange. I think from Chelsea, if he goes there. But then some fans don't want to send him to Chelsea. I don't think there's anyone at Man United that I want in return. I don't want anyone like Maguire and Martial, people like that. I don't want no one there. I don't think.
I've never been a big fan of exchanging players for players because I always feel like you're not getting someone who wants to join your club. You're just getting someone who they're trying to push out the door to get a different player in. So I'd much rather sign someone who is interested in signing for West Ham rather than someone who's saying, "Oh, sorry, mate, but we want this player. Would you mind fucking off over there, mate?" That to me is just not the way. However, I don't trust our board to spend the money well. So if we can get a good player in exchange, I'm off. And in fact, I don't trust them to spend all of the money on the team either. I think it will be part of the money spent. So if we do get someone in and a good player in exchange, then I guess in this case I am actually for it, mate, I suppose.
Yeah, I think answering your question, Paul, it's because we're so slow at everything. We're not organised, mate. We're not proactive. You can have a go at Spurs, mate, but the last 2 managers, they've changed. One's been sacked, the new one's been in 48 hours, mate. That's the way they do things. We need a whole month to scratch our heads and look for the right person. So I think keeping David Moyes is a very lazy decision by the board. That's why he's still there, mate, because it'll take too much effort and time and cost to get someone out of a club at this stage, really, and they've left it far too late for someone to risk their career coming in at this time. So October was the time. So that's kind of a bit of that, mate. So I am gonna close off the show. So thank you everyone in the chat. We had a good laugh in there. We'll catch up next couple of days, mate. So yeah, let's see what happens and see if we get a few more players back from injury or the ones that are injured. Hopefully it's not too long before they're back. And it's Spurs, mate, isn't it? It's the big one. It's Spurs.
It is, mate. It's the one, if out of all the ones you want to win, it's the one that I'd want to win the most. So as much as it's nice to beat Chelsea, beating Tottenham is always the one. And as we saw, they ain't all that. We saw that this weekend. So let's hope that our win that was so long due comes against that mob, because it will be amazing to get one over on them, especially with how our form's been. They'll be devastated to lose to us. So let's go and stick the pressure, bang on Conte and roll those boys down there. It'll be fantastic, mate.
Yeah, a win could really lift the morale amongst fans and players and perhaps improve our season a bit. I think Bantankar, whatever his name is, he's out for a long time. So he's a very, very good player, what I've heard. So he's out. But they've got a big squad and we'll see what happens. So anyway, thanks for joining, mate. And like I said, thanks everyone in the chat. Yeah, take care, mate. See you later.
See you later, everyone in the chat. Ta, mate.